connected. So today we are combining the psychic reading cards deck with the mediumship training deck again. Hoping for one card from each deck to go together this reading. Ooh. Let's see what fell. Communication. Put that here. And we're going to get one now from the mediumship training deck. Let's see what wants to come out of this deck here. Just one card, please. One card from the mediumship training deck to go with our psychic reading cards. You can read these energies together. If you didn't get the chance to see the other videos where I'm combining these two cards in one read, it's designed to, develop your psychic mediumship abilities. These mediumship cards are kind of geared towards doing that anyway. But the psychic, the mediumship deck, the psychic deck is supposed to help with that, but the mediumship deck is kind of already trying to do that as well. So I'm hoping that these two decks together, will intensify that, or at least give a way to approach something a little bit different, from a different angle than, or at least more than one angle, as far as any of these like exercises that they talk about, or anything that these cards are referring to. So I have it upside down. Okay, wow. It's like the hang. Never mind. Okay, so all right. So communication is card number 10. So let me go ahead and read that. Let me find it. All right, communication. The universe is communicating with you through signs, sounds, and songs. You have received this card as the universe utilizes many different forms to communicate and is trying to make contact with you. Do you ever hear a ringing or a buzzing sound in your ear? Do you ever hear words that pop into your head when you are thinking about a question that you would like to be answered? Did you ever listen to a shell when you were a child and thought you heard the sounds of the ocean within the shell? Do you ever hear voices in the breeze or externally calling your name or providing you with guidance? This psychic reading card is a gentle reminder that the universe wants you to pay attention to the sound and messages you are receiving. Understand that you are being guided from above and be open to it. Receiving messages in this form can also indicate a loved one in the spirit realm is trying to make contact with you from the other side in the form of clairaudience or clear hearing. You may also be receiving clairaudience communication through the lyrics in a song. Be open when hearing songs on the radio or when listening to music, as the universe may be attempting to communicate in this form. If messages are meant to be shared with you, the universe and loved ones in spirit will utilize whatever means are available. You may have been given this psychic reading card to encourage you to communicate with a living loved one, friend, or colleague to sort out a current situation. Have you been thinking about a friend or family member who you haven't spoken to in a while? Are you or someone you know currently having a difficult time or personally experiencing a challenging situation? This psychic reading card is a gentle reminder that talking through your worries, fears, issues, or doubts with another person could help you to resolve the situation. The universe wants you to know you are not experiencing challenges on your own. The universe always has your back and is open to assisting you whenever and with whatever you need. All you have to do is ask. So, I see a couple things here with this card. Now remember, this is the psychic reading deck. And it's talking about, not only hearing voices in your head, which usually would come from spirit, like from what we consider to be like heaven, but also, words in the form of music and, nudges to communicate with someone who is living. Like, we just talked about mediumship and how, Sometimes it's with people who have passed, who are still on this plane, like disembodied spirits, and sometimes who are people who are in heaven, departed loved ones who have gone to heaven, for lack of better words. The divine source. Let me read this. The divine source, spirit, is an infinite, expansive source of love that you can access anytime, using the power of thought, prayer, or a breathing meditation. A practicing medium should constantly seek advice and guidance from the divine source, which is always there for healing and support throughout one's life journey. Often referred to as the white light, the divine source is a positive healing light that can energize, cleanse, and strengthen your connection with spirit. This energy can also be used in support of graceful intentions and manifestations in all areas of your life. Be proactive and set aside time every day to connect with this loving light. The healing properties of the white light can increase awareness of your spirit self and amplify your abilities as you let the pure stream of white light energize you, as though you're bathing in a waterfall of unconditional love, joy, and strength from the divine source. To connect with the divine source, you can use this technique of sitting in the power of your own beautiful light. Breathe into your heart center, and as you focus on the power of your breath, allow your consciousness to form a link with the divine source. Let the white light surround you and purify your spirit and energize you as each ray of light heals and nourishes every aspect of your being. Don't forget to share love and gratitude in return for the blessings received. So, interesting enough, the communication card coming out with, the divine source card is kind of clear to me, not only with the stuff that I said about communicating either, with, people who are like basically what I call disembodied spirits, or, people who are in heaven, as well as, actual source, which, as part of source, I considered like my higher self to fall in that category as well. Separate, energy, but still the same when I say, source, like source energy, like I am talking about my higher self. I am talking about, spirit. Talking about being able to access it at any time, I feel like it's really encouraging, and especially speaking about meditation, I feel like it's really encouraging to keep that communication open. I mean, it even says a practicing medium should constantly seek advice and guidance from the divine source, which is always there for healing and support throughout one's life journey. It's saying keep that communication open. Keep that communication open. That there's more than one reason to have that door open. It's not just about communication. It can be about healing. It can be about a lot of other things. Guidance, direction, support, love. Communication is really important as a medium because, again, you have to be careful sometimes how you're communicating information, what information that you're communicating. You might be in a situation where someone doesn't want to know something from someone specific, or doesn't want to know something specific, and you really need to figure out how to communicate with that while honoring that, honestly, because you're going to have to learn how to keep that loving connection open, while still letting someone maintain their beliefs, while still letting someone be open to, hearing what you're saying. I've said it before that if you communicate in a way that, blows their belief system out of the water, they could really just stop listening, and then it gets harder to communicate. So you really have to keep that in mind, you know. And it's funny because I feel like even in the other video, we were kind of talking about this, like communication with source. Like it really is the same thing. You can ask source, like, should I say this? Or, you know, if you're communicating with someone in heaven for someone, you know, to someone, you know, remember, because these are the mediumship cards, you know, you can always ask source, like, hey, should I communicate this? Should I communicate that? Like I said, you can ask that person's loved one, should I communicate this, or should I, or if so, how can I communicate this? You know, is there a way that is better? You know, and this is also, sometimes you got to be open to get this, to understand what this is. Sometimes might be something, music this thing was talking about. There's a whole separate music card in that deck, this deck right here, that has come out before. Extremely interesting that we're talking about communicating through music again. That pretty much tells me that not only are we talking about not only we're talking about communication with people who have passed and haven't gone into the light. This particularly is talking about white light, but also people who have passed and gone into the white light, and people who haven't passed yet, and how we're communicating to people who haven't passed yet, and how important communication is, and how important how you communicate is. You know, it really highlights the fact that how important these two things, they go together. The mediumship, the source, the communication. The communication. You know, even this card, talking about music, talking about all that, and of course, you know, whatever else we want to pull from it, like I said, whatever subject or whatever category we want to put it in, this kind of almost speaks for not everything, but way more things than are actually implied here. You know, I mean, technically we're not speaking about it now, but if we wanted to talk about, you know, let's say a couple is not getting along. Okay, well, we can talk for a while about all the forms of communication that could be going back and forth with these people that are just exasperating and agitating the situation. You know what I mean? Again, when you're, you know, performing the task of mediumship, you don't want it to be a situation where you're not getting along. So again, you know, really watching how you're communicating, watching what you're communicating, you know, seeing how it might look to someone else. You know, sometimes you might look tired, or you may feel like you look tired, but somebody else might feel like you look uninterested, you know. And you know, again, this could be in normal life, or this could be during mediumship, you know. I mean, really watching the way we communicate, you know. Sometimes, you know, we really need to be mindful of what we're giving out, what we're, what we're taking in and what we're giving out, you know. This card is also coming out. I don't know exactly when this video is going to get released, but this card is also coming out, you know, on the day that we begin a Mercury retrograde. And, you know, it does kind of remind me that, you know, you can communicate all you want sometimes, but someone is not only are you speaking through your filter, but someone else is hearing you through their filter. And sometimes they get it in a totally different way than what you meant. And so, again, communication is the key, but it's not just about communicating, and maybe not even just about how you're communicating and what you're communicating. How you're communicating helps for the person, like as far as how they receive it. Of course, if you're mindful of how you're communicating, it can help with, you know, how the person is receiving it. But how, you know, having said that, sometimes you're just like the bearer of bad news, and you can't really control how that person's going to perceive what you're saying, even if you say it in the nicest way. And a lot of times too, people will say, well, you said this, and you'd be like, that's not what I said. And then other people will be in the room too, and they'll be like, that's not what he said. And it'll be, no, you said this, and they'll keep saying it like they know for sure, and everybody will be like, no, that's not what was said. I have it on tape, I'm playing it back, this is not what he said, you know. And it's like, because you heard it that way, you know, the feelings kicked in, and then you started to behave in a way that, you know, and again, you know, it's communication. Communication is really the key. And, you know, especially when, you know, and I'm not just talking about Mercury retrogrades, but, you know, again, we're talking about mediumship. Again, we're talking about, you know, topics that are hard for some people, and when you say some things, you know, they get a little skittish, or maybe they don't want to hear it at all, like I said, especially if the message is for them, you know. So it really is about, you know, watching what you're doing, you know. And you can always ask, how can I communicate this? How should I say this? How should I say this to this person? You know, or, you know, this card is also talking a lot about white light and healing properties. You know, you can always put it into, you know, the healing part of it, or the white light part of it for the person, you know, the person that you're talking to. But really, this card just by itself is saying to keep your communication with spirit open, with the divine source open. And this card is saying communicate everything with everyone. Just, you know, communicate it in a way where it's responsible, you know, and ask, should I communicate that? How should I communicate that? Even if it's just for you, like I'm not even talking about mediumship right now. Maybe you have to tell somebody something that's hard, and it's a personal situation from you, and you really don't know how to approach it. You can ask. You can use that connection with source and that communication with source, and you can ask, how should I bring this up? How should I talk about this? How should I have this communication with this person so that this person can understand what I'm saying, and I can get the most out of what they want me to understand, and it can go smooth, and I can, you know, have this experience without triggering that other person or making them upset, you know, in any way, you know. But yeah, also especially if it's not personal and you are a medium, because in your mediumship role, because we're not talking just about your family and how it affects you. We're talking about how you as the outsider are going to affect another family, and then you're going to like leave and then they're going to be there to reconcile whatever it is that you said. So again, using that communication for healing. Listen, I hope this helped you. You know, they want you to understand they don't want you to hurt anymore. Please live your life, that kind of thing. Turn it into something positive. You can always do that. You can always do that. Most of the time, that's what's wanted. The messages come through because the people need to hear them, yes, but also because they need to move forward in a positive light. They need to. It's time, you know. So convey that in that way. Use that communication. Ask the question. use your judgment. You know, listen to what's said. Listen to what's said when you use that connection with Source. Think about that. This right here. And all of the aspects of it. It's important. It might come out again, or a card like it. We'll talk about it again. But think about it. So we meet again.